there's no right or wrong time for coaching. It's an investment in yourself and an investment in your business.
Hello and welcome to Meet the Coach. I'm your host, Carla, Egan, and we're talking to a very experienced business coach that's been around for a little while now. She's been coaching businesses since 2005. So that's almost 17 years ago on the recording today, and she's been coaching when coaching wasn't even a trend. So our guest today is Vanessa Moore from Get Coached by Vanessa. Welcome.
Thank you, Carla.
It's great to have you.
Lovely to be here.
Well, you're based in WA, and I've known you for a little while now. And one of the things I actually really like about your coaching style, Vanessa, is there's no sugarcoating. You get to the point, you get to the heart of the matter, and you really get into achieving results, which is what all business owners want and what they need. But before we get into that, what I'd like to do is I'd love to know how you actually got into coaching yourself. Do you want to share your journey with us, please?
A fellow member of the Coach Directory, Bruce Frame, I met him in 2004, and we lived in the same little town on the outskirts of Melbourne, and he approached me and asked me to go and work for him a couple of days a week. I had no idea what business coaching was. Just, I knew what he did just through conversations, and I was temping at the time, and they'd offered me 5 days. So I said, look, I'll do 3 days with you guys, and I want to do the other 2 days with Bruce. So about 6 weeks into it, when I sort of got my feet, and Brad Sugar's the owner of Action Coach, which is the franchise we're part of, came to Melbourne to do a seminar. Seeing him on stage talking about what coaching is all about, I just knew that this was me. This was what I wanted to do. I loved working with Bruce, and I did an apprenticeship with Bruce. I took the plunge in August 2005 and went to Vegas to do 10 days of training, and then worked with Bruce right through till 2009 when I moved to Perth. And we're still good buddies and supporting each other all these years later. And I'm very grateful to him for seeing something in me that he thought, I could be a coach, and grooming me basically.
I love that story. And you know what I love about it? I've never heard anyone say that they've done an apprentice as a coach, but what a great way to learn. And from another business coach. You talked about not knowing what business coaching is when you first started and what it was all about. So for those that are listening and watching our interview and listen to our podcast interview with you, Vanessa, can you describe what business coaching is for those that may not be familiar with it?
Coaching is accountability, most of all. However, in the early days, I remember Bruce saying to me that we life coach business owners because their head trash is pretty much what stops them from having the business that they want. Ideally, it's about making sure that they've got a clear vision for the future, working with them on plans and strategies, going back and fixing what needs to be fixed, getting to a point where there's some control, and then being able to move forward and grow. For some business owners that I've worked with, it's about having an extra pair of eyes and ears that they can rely on, that they get support from. I've got a client that bought a business a couple of years ago and had every intention of putting on a coach at some point. And he bought it in the March 2020, and we met in June last year. And it's not about being in chaos or not having control for him. It's knowing that he needs that extra pair of eyes and ears and support to help take him forward. It comes on all levels. There's no right or wrong time for coaching. It's an investment in yourself and an investment in your business.
We're just coming out of 2 tough years, 2020, 2021, and, into this year, 2022, with COVID and the pandemic. And can you just share what you've noticed, some of the trends with some of your clients, what you've noticed in the industry in terms of, navigating some of those challenges? There's been probably opportunities for some, pivoting moments for others. What's your experience been with that, Vanessa?
Well, highs and lows. I had a client who was a wholesale food client who did a lot of packaging for businesses. With the lockdowns and then the requirement of only takeaway, the packaging side of his business boomed. I remember that he had 4 record months in the first 4 months of COVID because his clientele relied so heavily on him for that part of their business. But then I saw the opposite side of it with a client that did shopping centre displays for car dealerships who basically just couldn't work because there was no work. We got locked down and there were only certain places that people could work. So I also saw people pivot. I've seen people have to close the doors. It was an interesting time. I offered a free call on a Tuesday and a Thursday afternoon to all of my database where we could just get together and talk and share and support each other, refocus. And it was amazing to hear people's thoughts. And there was a lot of fear around, but through those calls, we were able to share and support each other and, give each other ideas on what to do and how to do things. And people that were considering a pivot or something like that. I actually gained a client through those calls because she'd seen my emails for many years being on my database. And she owned a beauty salon, but she continued to supply stock to her clients. They'd call, do an order, and then she'd say to them, I'll be there between these times, and actually give them their orders. So she still managed to maintain some level of income. So it came down to people being clever, supporting each other and helping each other overcome the fear to say, well, have you tried this or have you tried that? So, and it's still happening now. I mean, we were fairly lucky in WA that we didn't it didn't really get here quickly because McGowan obviously closed the borders. But it's still hitting in some places, and in others, people are just skyrocketing.
Well, firstly, I love that you offered this free support network, this opportunity to come together as business owners, because it can be lonely, and no one really understands the challenges, the journey that you go through unless you're a business owner yourself. So it's quite a unique niche that you specialize in. What type of businesses have you worked with? Because you've been doing it for almost 20 years now, and I dare say you've seen a wide variety of businesses. Can you just share what some of those diversities you've experienced?
I need my list. To try and remember everyone it's pretty tough because it has been a very long time. My first client that Bruce actually organised for me because she was a lovely lady, but she wasn't very confident that I'd be competent straight up. So Bruce and I actually coached her together for the first few months. She had an interior design business locally where she lived. And I've coached lots of soft furnishings clients, having coached that interior designer in the beginning. Lots of hair and beauty, many trades of all sizes, single, 10 staff, 20 staff, manufacturing, wholesale food, especially. I've got a wholesale food client that I've had now for, let me think, it will be 14 years in October that I've been working with them, and they're actually in Melbourne. I'll help all sorts. Accounting, speech pathologist, freight, HR, IT, you name it. It's diverse, absolutely diverse.
It'd be so interesting to see the insights of different businesses and the owners and how they think. We talk about scaling a business and, making that first employee decision, buying more equipment, more assets, taking a premises, whatever that means for each business owner and business brand. Yeah. But as a business coach, it's not always about building businesses, is it? There you play another part, and I know you've had experience in this, so I'd like you just to probably elaborate on the exit part of what a business coach can help businesses with as well.
Well, when you say exit, it always brings up one particular client who he had basically fallen into the business. His dad got a bit ill, and he was in his early 20s, so he had to jump in and take over. And 20 years later, he was still there, and he loved what the business did, but he absolutely hated with a passion being the boss. So he was quite an interesting character, because at our first meeting, he said, "Oh, what's all this action coach US bullshit, rah-rah?" And I'm like, "Oh, hang on a minute." So we talked about what I could potentially do with him, and for some reason, he said yes. I don't even remember how I convinced him. So I'd go there every week and just listen to him spew out all this, anger and stuff, and we'd share and we'd talk. And as you said, I don't sugarcoat. And one day I just looked at him and I said, "Seriously, if you don't want to do this, let's sell it." And he went, "Okay." So we spent the next 12 months of me working with him and many of his team. We redesigned the warehouse. We went through the financials with a fine-tooth comb. We built systems. There was a great level of attrition in the staff, which was really good because we were able to put on better people. And then I approached a business broker that I knew. And, in December 2014, I think it was, he sold his business to his number one competitor, which was really interesting because his main competitor had been around for 100 years, and they did 80% retail, 20% wholesale, whereas his business was 80% wholesale, manufacturing, building and design, and 20% retail. So he stayed there on an earn-out clause, but he's still there as state manager all these years later and loving it. So, as he says in his testimonial, I actually coached myself out of a client, but the result that he got was what he wanted, and that's what I'm all about. I'm all about getting clients to where they want and need to be.
It's a really great story. It was the outcome that the client, the business owner had, and you delivered that. It's a really good story because it shows the diversity of what you offer as a business coach and your level of experience that comes around. I just want to pick up one thing that you mentioned. You talked about, assessing the warehouse, assessing the staff. You talked about finances. So I guess my question is, should a business coach be advising on finances, and what's your opinion on that?
Never. So, look, we absolutely need to understand the numbers in a business, because if you don't know your numbers, that's when people will get hit by a Mack truck. So what I do, I work very closely with my clients, understanding their profit and loss, their balance sheets, their online platform, whatever they're using, whether it's Mob or Xero, build reporting, build financial reporting, build systems around accounts. I mean, I worked in a bank for 12 years, back from 88 through to 1999. But I never advise. I always make sure that my clients go to their accountants whenever there's something that needs to be done from an advisory perspective. Recently had a client with a huge cash flow gap, and we were both, he's an ex-banker as well, we're both banging our heads against a brick wall trying to figure out what it was. And being ex-bankers, the fraud thing came to mind. So, we both put our thinking caps on and went away and did, individual research, and came back and thought, well, no, there's no fraud happening. So he went to his accountant, and his accountant came back with some reporting and stuff, and that allowed us to then take it forward and understand where the cash flow gap came from. But no, we're not licensed to advise on numbers. I would never tell a client what they should do, but based on the experience that I've had of 17 years with clients in different industries, I will always make sure that we work closely with their accountant. I quite often have a client that I will ring his accountant and just have a chat to him about what's going on with my client's business, because in order for my client to get better results, me having a relationship with their accountant always helps.
Yeah, I appreciate the distinction there, because sometimes there's a misconception that the business coach can do everything, but there are times and places for different levels of expertise, right?
Well, there are, and I do know a lot of coaches that are ex-CPAs and ex-accountants, which for them it's a great advantage. However, if they're not the accountant for that business, they should still be dealing with that client's accountant.
Yeah, Well said. In terms of you as a business owner, as a business coach, Vanessa, what drives you? What inspires you and motivates you to turn up every day and engage your clients? I'd love to know.
Coaching is my happy place. It's where it's innate for me. I know that this is my purpose. This is what I was born to do. And I don't struggle to get out of bed, no matter how bad business for me gets. COVID was pretty tough. The last couple of years have been fairly interesting. But yeah, I just love what I do, and I love being able to make a difference. That's the most important thing for me, whether it's a prospect that's reached out and we just have a conversation, even if they don't engage me, as long as I've made a difference for them, that's what matters. And yeah, I can see myself doing this forever, even if I retire, which I don't want to do. I'd love to be able to still be coaching clients a couple of days a week from wherever I might be living or on holiday. That's my purpose. That's my vision.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Now, there's a lot of coaches around the world. I mean, we're the second fastest or one of the fastest growing industries globally, and it's never been an easier time to start a business, particularly online. For those people that are a bit of a gig worker and want to start their own business, especially the younger generation coming into the workplace. So I guess my question is to you: what makes you different to the other business coaches out there, and why would someone want to engage your services?
What makes me different? I tell the truth. I actually had an experience of that this week. Yeah, look, my point of difference is that, I met with a guy from a BNI this week. BNI is a global networking group, for those of you that have never heard of BNI. And he said to me that the majority of coaches that he'd met were really only monthly retainer coaches, where they coach their clients weekly or fortnightly. My point of difference is that I have many offerings, whether it just be come to a planning day every quarter. If you qualify to join my growth club, which is a community membership, you can potentially join that. I will say to people, we can do, standalone sessions. If somebody is interested in coaching, I'll do whatever it takes to make it work within their budget if they are a fit for me. Because there are a lot of coaches out there that will say that, and this is the other point, one of the clients that I do have met with another coach 6 months before he met with me. And I said to him, why didn't you engage him? He said, because he just sat there and told me, oh yeah, we can do this, you should do this, you should do that, blah, blah, blah. He said, but when I met with you, you talked about we and us, and you wanted to know more about me and my business rather than sit there and tell me how good you are and what you could do. And that's the thing, I want to connect with the person as much as be able to then drive the business through coaching and get results.
I think that's a really important aspect that you just mentioned. I always recommend, if someone is looking for a coach, go out and talk to 2 or 3 different coaches, get a feel. Have you got a connection? Have they already done what you want them to do for you with other people as well? And I think that's part of your success. Not many coaches can survive almost 2 decades without delivering on what they want to do, and your tenure is a reflection of that, Vanessa. So well done, congratulations. My final question to you in our interview is, what does joining the coaching directory mean to you and your business?
For me, it's about an opportunity in a marketplace for coaches where there are, as you said, there are so many people out there coaching now. By having a platform like the coaching directory that people can go to, where we've actually been vetted. I mean, you're very tough on who you allow in. We've been vetted. There's an opportunity there for a different type of community where I'm getting to meet coaches that do all different kinds of coaching, not just business coaching. Also the relationship with you, because you're pretty amazing, Carla. But yeah, I think for me, it's just that next that next space, because there's so much noise out there for people that are looking for a coach. Having somewhere where you can find people that are reputable, that are experienced, that, you know, we need to invest in ourselves with our listing and our testimonials and making sure that people can actually get to know us to then be able to make, as you said, that informed decision about who's the right coach for them.
Thank you. I love your lovely words, and it's a pleasure to have, a coach of your experience and your level of background as well. I think your banking background plays a significant part to your success in adding an additional tier of service to your clients. Vanessa, sorry?
As well as a lot of transport and logistics and a bit of corporate as well. So,
yeah, you've got a broad range. But that just proves the point that you actually don't need to know the person's business to be able to be an effective coach.
Carla,
and that's really come through. Yeah. Every
business is the same. The only difference is what they sell. That's the only difference.
Yeah. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you and diving a bit deeper into what you do and just exploring, what a business coach does and what you do and what makes you different. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
And as always, thank you to you for watching and listening to our Meet the Coach series. If you enjoy our show, please rate and review us and be sure to watch our next Meet the Coach episode. This is Carla Egan from the Coaching Directory, where we connect you to your ideal coach. Bye for now.